Everyone called me a quitter, and for a long time, I believed them. 3 years ago, I made the hardest decision of my life. I walked away from a business I had poured everything into. 2 years of my life, my savings, my reputation, and relationships I'd stretched thin for support, all left behind. From the outside, the business looked like it was thriving. We had clients, revenue, and a small, loyal team. But inside, something felt quietly off. Numbers didn't add up, not in a dramatic way, but just enough to keep me awake at night. My business partner, someone I trusted completely, handled the finances. Yet, the more I looked, the more uneasy I felt. When I asked questions, the answers were too smooth, almost rehearsed. I started losing sleep, not from stress, but from suspicion. I hated doubting my friend, but I couldn't ignore my instincts. So, I walked away, feeling like the biggest failure I'd ever known. After I left, people were shocked. They couldn't understand why I'd walk away when I was so close to success. I had no clear answer, just a feeling I couldn't explain. For months, I second-guessed myself, watching from afar as the business kept running and even growing. Every milestone they hit felt like proof I'd made a terrible mistake. But then, 14 months later, everything collapsed overnight. An investigation revealed that funds had been redirected for years, client money, investor deposits, revenue that never made it to the official accounts. My former partner hadn't just been managing the business, he'd been quietly dismantling it from the inside. The fallout was devastating. Lawsuits, frozen accounts, and people demanding answers. Everyone was pulled into the chaos, everyone except me, because I had already left. Sitting with the reality of what happened, I realized the thing I called failure was actually escape. My instincts, which I dismissed as paranoia, were actually my earliest warning system. While the old business fell apart, I quietly started building something new, smaller, slower, and entirely mine. No partners, no shortcuts, and no moments where the numbers felt off. Within 2 years, this quiet little business grew beyond anything the old one ever achieved. Not because I was smarter, but because I paid attention to trust, clarity, and the gut feeling I'd learned never to ignore again. People still mention that I quit, and I let them, because I know now that quitting isn't always giving up. Sometimes it's getting out. Sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is walk away from something that looks successful on the surface, but feels wrong underneath. Your instincts are not your weakness. They are your earliest warning system. Sometimes the decision everyone calls a mistake is the one that quietly saves everything. If you're carrying the weight of something you walked away from, before you call yourself a quitter, ask yourself, what did leaving actually protect you from? The answer might surprise you. In the end, I learned that walking away wasn't about weakness or failure. It was about trusting myself when everything else seemed uncertain. That trust became the foundation for a new chapter, one built on clarity, honesty, and the courage to listen to my gut. Sometimes, quitting is the bravest thing you can do.